In Afghanistan, the Taliban have seized control of 5 provincial capitals since Friday. Taliban is the latest to fall. The fundamentalist Islamist group has also taken Sheberghan and Sharipur, and they drove government troops out of the northern city of Kunduz, the most significant gain in their latest offensive. Zaranj is in the southwest, is also now under Taliban control. The advance follows the withdrawal of US and other international troops from Afghanistan.
Black smoke hangs over Kunduz. Images from social media show street fighting between the Afghan army and the Taliban. People desperately trying to get to safety. The Taliban are on the march in Afghanistan and have now captured 5 key provincial cities. The government didn't pay enough attention to our region. Whether it was government failure, a faulty assessment of the situation, or corruption, probably a little bit of everything. This has led to our province falling to the Taliban so easily. Until recently, international soldiers had been working to bring peace and security to the country, promoting democracy and women's rights, among other things. But with the rapid withdrawal, many of the gains of the past 20 years are now at stake. Many Afghans had hoped that the days of the Taliban were behind them. That hope is diminishing with every passing day.
I'm now joined by journalist Ali Latifi from Kabul for the latest. Ali, the Taliban have captured 5 provincial capitals since Friday, 3 in a single day. What does that say about their strength and organization?
It obviously says a lot about their strength of organization, and it also says a lot about the message that they want to send. Because if you look at what's been happening over the last month, they really tried to capture one of the major cities of Afghanistan, Herat or Kandahar or Lashkar-Gah, and they couldn't do that. So they moved on to essentially just collecting smaller capitals along the way in the north. And taking Kunduz, it sends a very strong signal because A, it's the 3rd time they've managed to take it in 7 years, and B, in 2015, Kunduz was supposed to be the quote-unquote model province of Afghanistan. The president had completely restarted the provincial government in 2015, hand-selected all of the leadership, hoping that it would be the one that would turn the tide for Afghanistan. And in his first speech, the provincial governor at the time said, hey, Kunduz is insecure at the time, but we'll make it secure. And now this is basically the Taliban taunting the government, saying not only did you not make it secure, but we've managed to take it 3 times from you in the last 7 years.
Do you think the Afghan government can turn this around and keep the Taliban from seizing control of the entire country?
The issue for the Afghan government now is that they have to send forces to so many different spots of the country right now, because as I said earlier, Herat, Kandahar, and Lashkar-Gah are not fully under government control. There's still intense fighting in all 3 of them, so they had to send backup and reinforcements there. At the same time, they sent backup and reinforcements to Kunduz, to Sheberghan, to Sarapul, and at the same time, they have to keep Kabul, they have to keep Mazar, all of these other big cities as well. So it's really a question of how far and how wide can they send out their troops, and how long can they maintain that for? Now, of course, the same question will be asked of the Taliban, because at a certain point, can they simultaneously keep fighting battles in all of these different areas? And how many of these areas can they manage to do that in at one time? Because at the end of the day, Afghanistan is a nation of 34 provinces.
This offensive is happening while the government and the Taliban are negotiating some kind of a peace agreement. Can they even continue to talk under these circumstances?
If you look at sort of the rhetoric and the propaganda coming out from both sides at this point, neither side really seems to be talking about peace. They're going very full steam ahead with this idea of war and fighting one another. The government has suspended almost all funding for any non-military project and has put all of its effort and all of its thought into, the military and fighting this war. And likewise, the Taliban has done the same. Now, of course, there are 2 meetings scheduled for this week in Doha, and Dr. Abdullah, the head of the Reconciliation Council, he's headed there later today. But the question that will be asked is, which one of you is really ready to sit here and talk about peace? You know, because you're both ramping up your war efforts and your arms and your men.
Journalist Ali Latifi in Kabul there for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, after the first Taliban takeover in the 1990s, thousands of refugees from Afghanistan fled to India. Most of them live in Delhi now in precarious economic conditions. Their hopes of one day returning to their homeland are fading. Now, the latest Taliban resurgence is prompting a fresh exodus of refugees to India. DW's Amrita Chima reports.
Nasim fled Afghanistan 10 months ago. He was teaching in a school close to the northern city of Mazar-e-Sharif when the Taliban arrived in the area. They demanded he conform to their ideology and enroll his sons in a madrasa, an Islamic religious school. Nasim is now working at an Afghan restaurant in Delhi, well known for its cuisine. Almost everyone working here is a refugee like him.
I was in danger in Afghanistan, so was my family. The Taliban had threatened to kill me and my boys. Who wants to leave their homeland? But I simply had to leave for our safety. There was no other option.
Most Afghans we spoke to say it was the fear of the Taliban that drove them out of the country. And they have little optimism that the US-Taliban negotiations will bring peace to Afghanistan.
There are those in Delhi who regard this street Little Afghanistan. That's because many refugees and asylum seekers from Afghanistan have set up shop here, including this vendor who's selling Afghan bread. But at the moment, people on this street are deeply worried about current developments in Afghanistan.
Ahmed Zia Ghani, who represents Afghan refugees in India, is familiar with their stories.
All the people is afraid, they are escaping from Afghanistan. But in India also, all the people are worrying about their families in Afghanistan because, for example, somebody is living here, but her family is still in Afghanistan. But they are thinking to escape from Afghanistan to another countries.
Nasim is relieved he's made it out of the country with his sons and his wife, Bibi Aisha. She's also suffered under the Taliban. A few years ago, Aisha's brother was killed in a bomb explosion blamed on the Taliban.
I don't want to return to Afghanistan. There is no peace. There is too much fighting. In this situation, I don't want to go back. Ever.
Last night, Nasim got a wonderful gift from Afghanistan. His mother, who'd managed to escape from the Taliban, arrived in Delhi. But their pleasure is mixed with grief. Nasim's father is now alone in their family home. Nasim says Taliban fighters are using him as a human shield. They're not sure when they'll ever see him again.